My name is Teresa Raczek, and I am the chair of the Department of Geography and Anthropology. I'm an anthropological archaeologist, and I use collaborative and participatory methodologies. When I first started out in archaeology, I excavated Native American Pueblo sites in the southwest of the U.S., and I also spent a few seasons excavating Neanderthal sites in France. These experiences led me to be interested in the study of lithics, or stone tools, which I later studied in my dissertation. As a grad student, I began excavating in Rajasthan, India, as a crew member at the large site of Gilland in the center of the region. My dissertation was funded by a Fulbright, and I studied the lithics, or stone tools from that site, to identify connections between the residents of Gilland and nearby mobile pastoral groups. This was one of my first attempts to make sense of the ways that people built networks and communities across regions in the ancient past. After my dissertation, I began working with colleagues at Deccan College Postgraduate Research Institute in Pune and the Rajasthan Vidyapit University in Udaipur to investigate the nearby sites of Kshetrakhera, Javasya Arni, and Pachumpta. A colleague at Hartwick College joined us for part of this work, and we called our collaboration the Mewar Plain Archaeological Assessment after the name of the region, the Mewar Plain. All three sites are within walking distance of Gilland, so the people who lived in these places could have visited each other regularly, engaged in trade and exchange, married each other, and supported each other in times of conflict. These are the first farming villages and towns that arose in the region, so it's the first time that people began to form these communities and the social practices that connected them. Our team is currently studying early community formation during the time that the first farmers in the region settled down and built the first villages and towns roughly 4,000 to 5,000 years ago in Rajasthan, India. The society we study is often called the Ahar culture, and it is just next to the Bronze Age Indus civilization. Both societies are contemporaneous. I'm also interested in the role of archaeology in the modern world and the way that contemporary communities engage with archaeology. My colleagues and I started our first project at Kshetrakhera, which is a small village with about 30 families. The current village is built on top of the site, which was highly endangered by encroachment. Village residents were digging the mound to make room for animal pens and new buildings. We started our work by mapping the site and talking to residents about the archaeological site. We asked them, who used to live here? Why are you digging the site? And what do you think about the old things that you find? They told us a lot of stories, and in the end, they agreed to excavate with us in the following season to find out more. Spending a whole season building relationships is unusual. Most research projects move much faster, but it's a critical part of collaborative and participatory methodologies that acknowledge the connections between people and ancestral communities. The local interpretations of archaeological finds are critical to building a shared understanding of the site, and the collaboration makes the work richer. Our team also takes time to present at schools and participate in community events. We welcome visits from local community members and work cooperatively with the local press to share our findings in the local language. At Kshetrakhera, we dug 2 trenches and found possible evidence of a regional population shift between the Chalcolithic and Iron Age periods. At a time when the large site of Gilland was growing, the small site Kshetrakhera appeared to be shrinking. This shows that within the region there may have been a movement to larger sites during the Iron Age. We later excavated at Javasya Arni, located on a stabilized sand dune, outside of a different village, and also at Pachumpta, located behind a school in the middle of a third large village. With permission of my Indian colleagues, I was able to bring KSU students on these excavations, and they played an important part of the research teams. We also hosted the Deccan College Field School one year and trained about 30 master's students in excavation methods. Directing a large excavation with lots of scholars, students, and local participants can be challenging, especially with several languages spoken on site. However, my colleagues and I work well together, and we've learned to solve some complex logistical problems so we can address our research questions. We are still sifting through the data from these sites, and we started to publish our first articles. KSU students have co-authored with us and presented their work at the Georgia Academy of Sciences, where one student won an award for their paper. Graduate students in India also completed their MA and PhD based on this work. One summer, I was able to bring a group of students to India for anthropological research on craft production. Working with translators, students studied with local artisans, learning how they made and sold crafts. All of the study abroad programs that I built have been fully immersive, with students living in the towns and villages where they work. In the villages, for example, we don't get chai in the morning until the cows are milked, and we take bucket baths because of limited running water. KSU students live and work alongside Indian students and village residents, and they learn a lot more than if they had stayed in a tourist bubble. However, we do take time to see the sites and learn all about Indian history. I prefer methods that are explicitly collaborative and participatory, which means that I work as a team with scholarly colleagues in the US and India, and we also include local communities in our research in key ways. I've been lucky that I've been able to include KSU undergraduate students in the research team as well, and provide them with hands-on research opportunities in culturally immersive study abroads. Collaboration is the heart of good archaeological practice, and I'm grateful to my colleagues in India who have been so extraordinarily welcoming and generous with their time and mentorship. Our research has been supported by National Geographic, the American Philosophical Society, and my colleagues' institutions, Deccan College Postgraduate and Research Institute, and the Rajasthan Vidyapith. I'm also grateful to the American Institute of Indian Studies, which has offered important logistical assistance in acquiring excavation permits and research visas. Since the pandemic, it's been difficult to get to India to work, and my colleagues in India are also finding it difficult to keep up with fieldwork. I have started a new project examining previously published radiocarbon dates and updating them with the new calibration curve published in 2020. I'm also using some Bayesian modeling, where possible, to try to refine the dates. Our goal of the project is to update archaeological chronologies across South Asia and to better connect archaeological events. For example, in order to understand how climate change in the ancient past affected day-to-day life, we need to accurately date both the climate change and the sites we think might have been affected by those processes. Good dating also helps us identify social change in general, trade and exchange, conflict, and other social processes. Across my career, I've collaborated on 5 edited volumes and published a lot of articles. My next goal is also to finish a book that I started, connecting the Indus civilization to the region that I study next door. Part of that project was funded by the NEH, the National Endowment for the Humanities, so there's a bit of urgency in completing it and sending it off for publication. The common thread through all of these projects has been the involvement of KSU students in the research. I've supervised a total of 52 independent student research projects in the 11 years I've been at KSU. It's been an honor to work with students, introduce them to archaeology and collaborative methodologies, and I look forward to continuing this work in the years to come.